That's odd. Hey, everybody. My intro didn't run. Welcome back to The Collective. How's everybody doing? That just threw me for a loop, so I appreciate everybody hanging in there with me. For some reason, my intro didn't start, but we're going to get into it anyway. As I am getting all flustered and trying to get sorted out, you should know what to do. Like the show, subscribe to the channel, hit notification bell, do all the good stuff. Get your emails whenever we go live. Of course, Fridays for the collective and Wednesdays for the workshop. Now, if you have not already, make sure you are signed up for the Reinforcement Loop, which is our weekly newsletter that goes out. And you get all the information from the shows, as well as a little bit of brain candy from Shaun on the end of that one as well. If you have any thoughts, questions, comments, anything at all, promote in the comment section, and we can hit those throughout the show. And of course, let's get some intros before we get right into the convo. Latha, why don't you start? We start with you. Give me a quick 10 to 15 seconds. Who are you? Where you come from? All that good stuff.
Sure. Well, first of all, I'm really excited to be on here. So thanks for inviting me. I'm Latha Nachiyamai. I'm a program manager here at Garmin. I'm an electrical engineer by background, and I started at Garmin about 10 years ago when we started developing biosensor technology. So my role at Garmin is to drive the biosensor roadmap. So we're really technology focused here at Garmin. So we're looking at how we can make the best biosensor platform we can, what technology we can integrate into it. And I lead a team here of engineers as we develop that module for all of our wearables.
Awesome. That's a great one. Scott, why don't you give us a rundown?
Hi, Chance. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me. So I'm Scott Burgett. I am the Senior Director of Garmin Health Engineering. I've been at Garmin for 27 years. I am an old salt electrical engineer. I grew up, started out in the defense industry working on nav guidance and control. I came to Garmin in 1998. I worked on Garmin's GPS technology for many years. And then in 2015, Garmin started to build these optical heart rate sensors, and we started to do all this really cool biometric work. And Garmin asked me to kind of step over and start working on that. And so I work closely with Latha and the team at Cochrane to drive the biosensor roadmap. And I also had some responsibilities for our Garmin Health business as well, where we're taking our products and we're selling them into digital health, digital therapeutic applications. So it's a new channel for Garmin. It's not just selling direct to the consumer. It's selling into other areas where people are using wearables to do really cool things like remote patient monitoring or chronic condition management, things like that. So pleased to be here.
Interesting. I like where this is going already. Shaun, how's he hanging out in the mountains?
Yeah, things are good. Looking forward to seeing where this conversation goes, because it could go in a number of different ways. I will preface it by saying that I've been in the nerdery game for a while, and since the earliest versions of, I guess, smart watches, and being a high performance race coach for 15 years, looking after athletes all around the world, predominantly in ultra endurance racing. I was a world champion in 24-hour solo racing myself. I think that I'm very much I was very much a data-driven coach, and the bleed over from high performance coaching into day-to-day performance was something that I saw very early writing on the wall, and I've tracked it fairly closely for a number of years now. And I stopped high performance coaching about 5 years ago. And so I haven't had my thumb on the pulse of biosensors, particularly Garmin, since that time. While I was coaching, of course, a lot of my athletes had Garmin wattage devices and Garmin bike computers, no doubt. But where things are going for Garmin in biosensor specifically, I am definitely fascinated.
I am stoked for where this is going to go already, because I know Shaun's going to go right down the nerd train, and it's going to be a good one. Dan C jumped in here a second ago, said, "Good morning, everyone." Yep, I was afraid I took the wrong pill. Let's kick some ass. Yeah, that threw me for a little bit of a loop, but I want to get right into the conversation. So I want to get your guys' thoughts on biometrics in general. Like, when you think of the word biometrics, when you think of that as a concept, what comes to mind? Latha, I'm gonna hit you first. What do you think?
Well, I think of data that helps you learn more about your health and your fitness. And so, where you are in that journey, there's all this data that your body is telling you, before you'd use your perception to say, okay, how am I doing? And now there are metrics that give you data that is quantifiable about how your how your body is responding to your environment and to what you're putting it through. So that's kind of what biometrics means to me. It's metrics about your body.
Dig it. Scott, you got any
Mhm.
thoughts?
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think, we have developed over the years so many different features and measurements about your health and your, how you're doing. And what's happened is that people can get very personalized information about themselves that they never could get before just by wearing a watch. It's pretty remarkable what you can do. And I'll give you a good example of something that's becoming more and more important in the discussion is sleep. Sleep is now a big deal. Sleep is now recognized as one of the 8 essential things that you need. And people used to think to get a good night's sleep, I might, have a couple drinks and that will help me sleep better. The reality is that it messes your sleep up. It prevents you from getting restorative sleep. And it's one of the worst things you can do. So this sort of insight is super powerful. And, what we see is when people start buy one of our products and start using it and they start paying attention to that, they can make changes and really affect some positive change in their own health state and how they live their lives. So I think it's just super exciting what's going on with wearables and biometrics.
I could not agree more, and I'm excited. I have a question on that specifically, but I want to get Shaun in here. What is your definition of biometrics? Then I'll get you guys hit you with the question.
Well, I think it's any tool that can capture data on a human being. And, we could broaden that out to some degree, but generally that's where I sit. And so, as an example, I'm wearing an Oura ring right now. I've been wearing one since, I guess, about 7 years now. And it's just a tool. And actually, it's a worthless tool unless you understand how to use it correctly. And so that is kind of one of the problems I see with biometric tools. Biosensors is if the human machine interface isn't such that the human can understand what is being told to them on that particular morning or that particular afternoon. If a human hasn't been doing it long enough to understand patterns of data, then the data is worthless. And so we're kind of in an exciting time now, I feel, given the advances of AI and computing power or microcomputing power, that these patterns of recognition that can take humans some time to figure out are being delivered on the day-to-day within the wearable that the person is engaging in. Now, I understand that software can be part of that solution, but I still feel that that's a bit clunky right now, and the pattern recognitions aren't as great as they could be right now. But I really do think that we're on the cusp of wearables with biosensors and to some degree artificial intelligence. I think things are really going to start going in interesting directions.
Well, let's go down that alley first, actually, before we even get to my question. Scott, you got any thoughts on the integration of AI to biometrics?
I totally agree with what Shaun is saying. Is that one of the I think one of the challenges we face in the industry is we make these wearables and we have these sensors that have all this data, this really rich data streams. There's all kinds of stuff there. And we have to process that down to something that's actionable and usable and understandable to people. So I think there's 2 aspects to that. One is that it has to be accurate, it has to be believable. And that's something where at Garmin, we work extremely hard on to make sure that our sensors are very accurate. So you're building on a foundation of very, very accurate measurements. But then the next thing you have to do is you have to process that down into actionable insights and coaching and things that people can do to try to make things better. Like I think Garmin has a very good stress feature. It's an all-day stress, and if you use it, you'll see that it really pretty accurately, represents your day and how stressed you are or how rested you are. The thing that we try to do is we try to give you insights and like what can you do to moderate your stress and be more healthy and things like that. So I think that's still a part of the industry. I think that maybe we're still maybe a little overboard on too much data and some people really like data. I'm a data geek like that. I like a lot of data. Maybe some other people that's not really great, right? So finding the right balance is, I think, really important, to provide really, really accurate and meaningful feedback.
Yeah, one example I always like to bring up with that is my father-in-law. So he had open heart surgery a couple of years ago, and he is a farmer in northern Alberta. So very active job. He's physically active. So he had to really manage his recovery period and make sure that he was still getting enough exercise and going out, but managing that and appropriately post operation and during his recovery. So what he used our body battery feature, and that just really spoke to him as he could understand it. Like, I'm charged now, I'm depleted. Now I'm going to rest a little bit. I'm going to get more charged. I'm ready for what I want to do. Oh, I've done a little bit too much. So now I'm going to go and rest up again and charge my battery. And so that the way that Garmin presented that feature to him in a body battery way, which takes heart rate, it takes HRV, it takes stress, it accounts. Sorry, I don't know.
No worries.
I'm not sure what that is.
I'll jump in.
It's not mine.
So, jump in. I do have a question on this though, because I think this is an important thing to jump in on. Is that as much as we can track, at what point does all of the tracking become an issue? When does managing the stress or tracking the stress become a stressor in and of itself? What do you guys think? Scott, go ahead.
There's a term for that which escapes me, where, for example, in sleep, some people lose sleep over trying to improve their sleep score. It's a real thing, and I think that it's something that we all need to be aware of, and I think it just probably gets back to the user interface and the accuracy as well. Is we need to encourage people to do better and give them ways to do it, but try not to make them too nervous and anxious about it. I think that's a difficult question to answer because everyone's different, right? What's enough for somebody is not enough for somebody else. So I don't know the answer to that, but I do know it's a thing. From my perspective, I prefer to have the data in front of me. I might be a little biased because I have the engineering background on where it's coming from and how to interpret it, but I prefer that, and I'm able to kind of assess it as a big picture, right? Every morning. I mean, I get up in the morning and first thing I do is I'll look at my resting heart rate. In my mind, resting heart rate is one of the most important things that we measure overnight, because it tells you a lot about how you're doing, how well you're going to recharge, whether or not you're overdoing it, things like that. So I prefer to give people lots of information, but I am sensitive to what you're talking about, Chance, with people getting anxious about it.
Yeah, and I find it kind of funny because when it has to do with something that we're interested in, more data is good, right? But I think for some people it can be a little frustrating when they don't really know, as you said, how to interpret that information. It just becomes noise. Latha, you got any thoughts on any of this?
Yeah, I think it's like, if you can really use the data in a way and decide what's important to you and what you're going to focus on. So I think one example we have is our morning report, and I think that does a really good way of kind of synthesizing your data from your sleep and setting you up for the day. So, you could go and look at all these individual metrics yourself, or you could go and look at your morning report that you get in the morning and say, okay, here's the weather, here's what, based on your sleep and your recovery and the activity you did yesterday, this is what Garmin's recommending you train for today. This is your daily suggested workout. Here's your calendar for the day. So I think giving people that kind of synthesized information in a way that they can do something with it that's actionable is helpful for them. But yeah, I mean, definitely there's a fine balance in, giving people so much granular, or having so much granular information that you don't really know how to synthesize it and you don't know what's actionable from it. So I think that's where it's really important as we kind of build out features to think about how is someone going to use this? How is it going to affect their decisions that they're making that day? What kind of information is this giving them?
I think that goes directly into the example you were given just a second ago with the battery, right?
Mhm.
How do you deliver the information in a way that people can actually absorb it versus just flat data? Because I know looking at a Microsoft Excel spreadsheet would be very difficult to just stare at and try and pull the information from. But having a concise body battery concept would be great. Shaun, you got any thoughts on any of this?
Yeah, I was taking a look at where Garmin's at as of today, this morning, just looking at the product line and not what their latest, greatest emerging science is, but just trying to get a sense of where Garmin's at. And what I did note was, to Latha's point, is the battery buddy, I believe it is a really, from my interpretation, a really simplistic way of understanding how the day went, how your day's going, and about as simplistic as it could be. But then throughout the spectrum of, I thought of them as software bolt-ons onto the hardware, it's got various levels of granularity that you can dig into. And I think that's one of the fascinating parts about what I noted this morning from Garmin is it's a very layered approach to the information delivery, and so the end user can self-select either through trial or error, or through, probably I would assume there's some sort of helpful interface at the start of when they get their brand new mega expensive watch, what they're supposed to do. I think that ability to self-select the level of information delivery is pretty key. And so just from, just a small amount of time sniffing around, I could see that there was a bunch of bolt-on software solutions that really look quite useful, really quite interesting.
I'm excited. I was looking up some of the Garmin lines, and I do love the watches and the amount of stuff that they can pull from you, and it is it's pretty crazy. So I have a question for you guys, just in general, on Garmin and not just what is coming up, but I want to ask this. So, is there something that the wearables today are especially good at measuring, and then on top of that, what's next? What's the next piece beyond that? What is the next thing you're working on? Latha, I'm going to come to you on this one. What do you think?
Sure. Well, I have to say that they're really good at measuring heart rate and HRV, and or beat to beat interval, as we call it. So that's what our team works on here in Cochrane, the engineering team. We've put so much R&D and effort into making that the best sensor that we can. And when we started out, a lot of athletes wanted to know, well, what's my heart rate while I'm running, while I'm biking? But what we were able to do is get really, really good heart rate all throughout the day, especially when you're sleeping as well. So during the day, when you're resting and sleeping, and during activities. And what we can tell so much about you by what your heart rate is, what your heart rate variability is, for your recovery, for your sleep, for as you're in different phases of life. If you're going through menopause, how that's affecting your sleep, how that's affecting your resting heart rate, even just small things like if you're getting sick, how your stress is affecting your body. You could see increases in your resting heart rate if you're not when you are stressed or you're not really getting a good night's sleep. Or if you're coming down with a cold or something. So I think I would say, in my opinion, I think our best we're really good at measuring heart rate, and then that's allowed us to do so much, and so many other features and other metrics that are built up on top of heart rate.
I love it. Scott, you got any thoughts?
I totally agree with Latha. I think we have invested a huge amount of effort for the last 11 years on the optical heart rate sensor, because being really accurate in that unlocks so many things. Because if you can measure the heart rate and you can measure the beat to beat interval, it unlocks lots of downstream applications that are driven by that sort of thing. Stress is driven by beat to beat interval and heart rate. Sleep, our enhanced sleep, a lot of that is driven by heart rate as well as Excel. So our philosophy has always been to build the best basic sensing platform that we could build, make it the most accurate, and make it have the best battery life. Our battery life is the best in the industry by far, and that's because we engineer it that way, and we spend an awful lot of effort to try to make it that way. So we build a platform that has excellent biosensors, excellent optical sensors, and excellent battery life, and then we're able to build all these downstream features on top of it. And so I'm really proud of what we've done over the years, because every new generation of sensor, when it comes out, we take a step forward in what we can sense and what we can do. And the fact that we can sense your heart rate without, you don't have to remove the watch, for 7, 10, 15 days straight, while you're running, while you're sitting still, while you're sleeping. The fact that we have a sensor that has that envelope, that performance envelope, to observe this continuously for days and days and days, I think that's really disruptive, because no one's ever really had that, right? If you think about, going to the doctor and getting a physical, they take your pulse and your blood pressure and your weight one time, and it's a one measurement. We can observe you for many, many days in a row before you even have to charge it. That's what's really powerful about it, is there's just low friction to sense. You have accurate sensors, low friction to getting these results. And so we continually invest really heavily in making sure those sensing platforms are the best we can make them.
That's amazing. I did not realize you could open up that much just with the heart rate itself and the accuracy within that. That's awesome. Shaun, you got any thoughts?
Yeah, HRV is super powerful, but again, it comes down to the pattern and how much you understand it, or how good the software is at interpreting and then translating that to the first time user. So don't anyone who's listening get super excited about HRV and think you're going to learn about it in 5 minutes and then it's going to be your new best friend, because that is not the case. There's more to it than that. But again, good software is super helpful. So, but I don't know anything about the Garmin line physically, other than my research this morning. And I got to say that I was really surprised by I think the claim was 14 days. And that is if you don't engage the, maybe it was the GPS that wasn't engaged, that kind of starts burning down the battery. But 14 days is bonkers. And I was curious when I saw that, is that with the O2 feature running in the background for 14 days as well, or?
Who wants to Scott? What do you got?
Latha, I think you probably are closer to that.
Yeah, I think you'll get a little bit less battery life if you do have the pulse ox feature running at night.
Okay.
But it's still in the multi days.
Okay. Yeah, it's surprising how long that battery's lasting, because that was one of the real put-offs in the early versions, early days, is where you had you were charging your watch every 24 hours, and it was not providing much at the time. But looking at I think it's the Phoenix line, which looks super sexy, the abilities that it was purporting were, I mean, it's like a little supercomputer on the wrist. One thing that I did note, though, is the way it lays against the wrist, and it looked like it was sort of had a bevel on the bottom of the watch to get better connection, I suppose. How consistent is that read, given that that watch is maybe bouncing around when someone's on a mountain bike or when someone's running down a trail?
Latha, you want to take that?
Sure, yeah. So we've engineered that sensor so that it has good contact throughout all the activities that you're doing. So, Garmin comes from a background of athletes who want good data during their activities. So we've purposely, our mechanical teams, our sensor teams, they've looked at how best to design this watch with the sensor on the back so that it can fit comfortably. We have lots of engineering that even goes into our bands, so that the bands can be, as you can tighten them and loosen them, so that you get a good fit and that they have that resolution. So it is true that for optical heart rate to work, for those biosensors to work, you need to have a good fit. You need to have good skin to sensor contact, and the way we do that is just by really good engineering and making sure that we have, first of all, we have a lot of different options. So we have, we have small watches and large watches. We have, I'm sure if you go to our website, you can see how many wearables we make. So you can pick the watch that's going to fit you the best with the features that you want. And then through that, it makes sure that it's comfortable for you as you're going through your activities. And, we're very intentional to make sure that the watches that we design are good for you to wear 24/7, because that's how we want you to wear them. We want you to be able to get that data all throughout the day.
Scott, you got any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think Latha's being modest. You wouldn't believe the amount of engineering that's gone into making sure we have good skin contact. You think it's a simple problem, it's not. Even to the point where I don't even know how they did it. It was done up in Cochrane, but they put like a camera on the side and they are actually videoing the watch against the skin as people were running. I don't even know how they did it, but that's the sort of length our engineering staff has gone to understand that problem and make sure we get good skin contact. And it doesn't hurt that we have about 37 different kinds of watches. I mean, I don't even know them all. You can find the one that works for you and fits you. We have different sizes, they're different price points. So, but yeah, I just have to point out, that sounds like an easy thing. That is not. And we have spent a lot of work trying to make sure that's the best.
So I have this question. It's my own personal curiosity on this, is the fact that, like, what is the research cycle look like? Like, when you find a problem and you go, okay, well, I need to get good skin contact. How do we do this? And then you start to break down the research patterns and how are we going to, you start planning it all out. What does it look like for you guys, especially for like new R&D, when you're trying to find new things to do or trying to develop something you've already done, trying to do it better? How do you actually run that? How do you break that down, Latha?
Well, we take an engineering view of it. I think that's the best way to put it. We look at the problem, we develop, we develop R&D to break it down, to learn more about it. We prototype a lot here. We test a lot. We're all users as well of this technology. So, when we're using it, we know what we bring that viewpoint. What can we make better? What else could we do with this? How can we test our theories? So we bring engineering insight and curiosity, and that user perception, or that user viewpoint into how we can make things better and how we approach that. Yeah, I don't know, Scott, if you have more you want to say about how we tackle these hard problems.
So I think you touched on it. We use what we make here. We are our own most hard critics on how things work. So if they don't work really well, we fix it, right? Because we use what we make. We want it to be the best. I think it kind of gets, just a comment again about accuracy and quality, is there's a lot of stuff that floats around. and we'll decide we want to explore something, right? And we'll do an exploration of that, and we'll see if it's feasible, and just see what's there. But what's most important about that process is that we won't proceed if we don't feel like we can get a feature that meets Garmin's quality out of that particular line of hypothesis. And so that's, I think, part of the reason for our success is that, I don't know if you've heard the term chasing shiny things. We don't go chasing a lot of shiny things at Garmin if we don't feel like they're going to pay off. We look at them in great detail as engineers and users. And if we feel like there's something there, then we'll pour a lot of resources into it. But if we don't, we'll stop. And I think that's how we've been successful, is we have a really good process for trying things out and quickly determining whether we think they're going to work or not. And like I said, we have very high standards. So maybe some other company will try it and put it out in a product, but we won't, because if we don't feel like it's going to meet our standards, we're not going to do it. So we're very proud of our brand. We're very proud of our brand image and the quality we bring. And so we have high standards.
That's good, man. High standards are a good thing. And I the reason I asked was I was thinking about, I don't know how many mechanics I've ever heard talk about the huge gap between the engineers that think of and design the cars and the mechanics that actually have to work on them. Get your hands into
We've heard that. We've heard that before. Don't worry.
Yeah.
We're sensitive to that problem.
So I'm glad to see actual people that are designing it or using it, because that is the key. Shaun, you got any thoughts or anything?
I'm curious on when you brought up the subject of sort of R&D cycle, how much, I guess, bandwidth you're allowed to play with, how much you can think outside of the box, how much you can sort of invert the problem or try to smash it into pieces and redesign it in a way that no one's ever thought of before. Like, are you encouraged to think outside of the box in a way that is, groundbreaking to some degree, or are things carefully managed so that you kind of plonk along safely, and that's good as well? I'm not assessing which is the best way to do business, but I'm curious about how your R&D cycle works, I think.
Scott, you want to hit on the first?
I think, Shaun, it's both. I think as a company, you have to encourage innovation. You have to encourage people to think outside the box and try things. And we certainly invest a lot of effort and resources in innovation at Garmin. So that's not an issue. We have a great innovation pipeline. On the flip side, as product people, when we're trying to build a new product, we're trying to bring it out, like say in the third quarter, so we can make Christmas, or or in the spring, so we can make the cycling season or something like that. On that side of things, you have to be very disciplined. So we do both. We do it both, and it's sometimes that product schedule can be a very hard taskmaster for us, because we're marching against schedules that can be challenging. Market imperatives are out there that we need to meet. So I actually, I've been at Garmin 27 years, and that is one thing about this company, is that we're innovators at our core, because we started out in GPS when no one even knew about it. It was a hugely innovative thing, and we've never lost that from our DNA. So we continue to do that, but also we have learned to be very, very methodical and about our product development, and making sure that we build products that meet schedules and have really high quality, or at the outgo.
That's a good answer.
Yeah. Latha, you got any thoughts on it at all?
Yeah, I would just echo that. And over the 10 years almost that I've been here, I've I've seen how that works in practice. And, we are a really innovative company. Like our engineers and our teams are really driven to make the best, but then we also want to make sure that we get something out for our customers to use, and that we drive those product schedules so that we have so that we keep getting feedback from the market too, to see, okay, now what do you guys want next? What are you finding resonates with you, and how does that improve our product for the next cycle?
So I have a question then on, for us end users and for you guys as end users, what do you think we're doing wrong? Like, where do you see the biggest failures between like user error and inability to understand the metrics? Like, where do you guys see the fault line between the technology and the person? Latha, I'm going to come right back to you. What do you think?
That's a tricky question. Yeah, that's hard. I think because we like Scott said, we do consider ourselves users too. So I think it's hard to look at how we're using things and find these flaws in them. I can't really think of a way. I think there's lots of ways. Obviously, people can use all the data that we give them to and synthesize it more and personalize it more. Know what that means for them. But I can't really see that there's this big gap between understanding what that data is and making it actionable for the user. Like I feel like the people who are using this technology and the metrics that they're getting from it, I really hope that they do understand what it means for them. And I feel like, just from talking to lots of friends and family and athletes, they do really fall in love with the technology. They use it every day. They learn what all those insights and metrics mean for them, and then they can kind of guide their decisions and understand really more about their body and their health and fitness from that. So Scott, can you think of anything?
No, not really. I think it one thing that I've learned on this job is humans are infinitely variable. And like as a GPS engineer, you could do a test and you could say, this is the right answer, or this is what I expect and this is what I should get, and put a little error bar around it or something, and you could do that and be really happy. When you're dealing with human physiology, it is amazing, the variation. And so everyone's mileage does vary a little bit as they wear one of these. And so it kind of gets back to the personalization part of it. But I think that's one thing to keep in mind is we engineer this to work for everybody, but everybody is a very big category when it comes to humans and how variable they are. So I guess that would be my thoughts on that question.
I dig it, Shaun. What do you think we do wrong? I know you're going to have something.
Well, I think it's very on a case-by-case basis, and I think it very much comes down to the end user's experience with wearables or with smart gadgets per se, and whether they are accepting, they have traction on these kind of things. Some people are just hard to get along with technology, and so there's that. But I think that, just looking at the Garmin lineup again, I focused on the watches. I was quite surprised how many there were and how advanced they have kind of become over the last 5-ish years. I think there's something in there for everyone. And then it all comes down to what software bolt-on they select at the day one. And I'm sure that evolves over a period of 100 days or, over a year. The end user doesn't get educated, but self-selects something that is maybe a little bit more granular in the interpretation. It's not just battery buddy anymore. It's further down the granular pipeline. So I think that's what I saw as exciting with the lineup and this idea of where end users might struggle. From what I saw, it looks like the struggle points have been removed based on how many offerings have been put into the ecosystem.
I like it. Well, I want to ask you, Shaun, specifically, and then I'm going to get Scott and Latha's thought on this, is that you've used, obviously, wearables, like you were saying, through your coaching time and all that stuff. What did you see was probably the most helpful for your athletes when you're looking at like somebody else's data rather than reading your own? What would you say was the most helpful?
So just to set the record straight really quick, I had a lot of athletes, files that would come into me every day. I would data analyze every day. And so I've done, well over 100,000 data analysis of predominantly wattage files that have bolt-ons like HR and all of the good stuff. And so I would tease out the details every single day on all of my athletes, month after month, year after year, for 15 years. And so I could read data like Neo reads the Matrix. It's just once you've done it long enough, you just see what you see. And that's hard to explain to someone who hasn't done it long enough. And so that's where it becomes important that the end user interface, the software bolt-on, is as easy as it needs to be or as complicated as it needs to be for that end user to self-select. Not too long ago, there wasn't any self-selecting. You just got what you got, and it didn't really resonate with everyone. But again, I'm guessing just based on the marketing stuff that I saw just before I came onto this live show, that it looks to me like Garmin has kind of made enough offerings in there across enough of a watch line that there's something in there for everyone to start on day one, irrespective of what level they are. So again, it looks like the problem has kind of been removed based on some pretty savvy ecosystem development.
And so, Latha, I'm going to come to you right on this question. When you talk to your family and your friends about the watches and all of the different biometrics that they can do and all of the different wearables that you have, what do you tell them? How do you get them either interested or better acclimatized, or what do you tell them?
Well, I think it's true. We have so many we have so many offerings at Garmin. So it's really like, what do you want out of this? Like, are you a runner? Are you a biker? Are you someone who goes to the gym more? Are you interested in just getting better sleep, improving your health, and all of those things whoever you are, we are going to have a watch that's made for you, that's going to go and fit what you want. Are you a diver? Are you a golfer? Right. So I think you start there first. And then for a lot of my friends, they're looking to just maintain their health into middle age, like we're in our 40s now. We want to make sure that we're kind of noticing different sleep patterns, not being able to fall asleep as well, still want to stay active, have heard from our mothers and our grandmothers, like what menopause is like, and to try to get ahead of that. There's a lot more literature there. So I think for a lot of those of my friends in that phase of life, we want to maintain our health. At this point, we want to do what we can to make sure that we age well, and so we're looking at, are we getting enough sleep? Are we keeping our stress down? Are we continuing to lift weights, for example? Are we on a good strength training program? Are we getting enough steps and activity throughout the day? Is it consistent? And what are some things that we can do and make as a daily habits and weekly habits to improve that? And how can we be motivated as well, right? And so I think for a lot of my friends and for myself, that's what I'm looking to do. And the wearable does help me do that a lot, right? It gives me the motivation, it gives me the data. It can tell me even when I feel like I haven't changed anything in my lifestyle, that things are changing in my body. And what does that mean for me?
And what wearable are you wearing? Is it a watch or is it something else?
It's a watch. I'm wearing a Phoenix. I'm wearing a Phoenix 8, a small size. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Same with motivation. Does it have a little electroshock that you can like
Now that reduces the 14-day.
That didn't make it out of the idea.
Yeah.
Or innovation.
Mhm.
That's the 10-day watch.
Yeah.
Well, for me, what I and a lot of my friends do too, like I might not be consistent every day in getting my steps and getting exercising, but I want to be consistent throughout the week. So, I use the intensity minutes to be like, okay, did I meet my intensity minutes goals for the week? And, did I try to get enough activity throughout the week and not just on the weekend as well?
That's a good way to do it. I know I have this bad habit. If I had a superpower, it would be entropy, because I destroy basically everything I touch. Yeah. So if you guys ever need a tester for watches to see if they'll last, I could take one. I will destroy it for you, no problem. Scott, I want to ask you the same question. When you talk to friends and family and stuff, what do you tell them about the watches and the technology that's available?
So it's interesting, because that's the most common question I get is, which watch should I get? Right? I'm sure Latha is the same with you. And
Yeah.
you have to ask them, well, what do you like to do? Like, are you a runner? Are you a biker? Are you just trying to sleep better? That sort of thing. So you ask them about this stuff, and then you sort of steer them towards something that might work best for them, because, our Phoenix line is what a fantastic watch. It does everything, but it might be overkill for somebody who's like, I just want to get more active and sleep better. Right. And so we have a Vivo Active, which is much way less costly, but still a really great device that will work well. So, you have to kind of ask that. But, a lot of times when people ask me, it's because they're curious about something that's going on. Like I'm not sleeping very well anymore. I really want to figure that out, or stuff like that. And so it's interesting. I'd like to tell another story. Is so a guy I work with, he got his mother-in-law a watch after the same sort of questionnaire game that we all play at Garmin. And she was having a hard time sleeping. Her body battery never charged at night. Her stress level remained high. And she was talking to him and says, hey, my body battery never charges and my sleep score is always low. And it turns out he encouraged her to go see a doctor about this, and she got checked up on, and she had sleep apnea. Right. And so, I mean, we're not a medical device. We didn't tell her she had sleep apnea, but we gave her information about things that led her to go to her doctor and get into this clinical workflow. And now this lady has a CPAP and she sleeps way better. Her body battery recharges at night. And, it made a massive difference in her quality of life and probably her lifespan, since sleep apnea is pretty hard on you if you goes untreated for a long time. So, that's one of the things that is so motivating for me and satisfying to me to work at Garmin, is the things we really make a difference. I mean, they're really meaningful, and they're out there making a difference in people's lives and improving population health and all this stuff. I mean, it's really true. And how cool is it to be able to work on something like that? I'm very lucky, I think.
It sounds super cool. I think I'd have a lot of fun just running around breaking stuff inside the factory there. But
we wouldn't let you touch anything in the factory. Right?
I'll walk around with my hands up. Everybody can touch anything. I think this is a great point, because there's a big difference between data versus anecdotal evidence, right? Like if I just wake up not feeling great every so often, I can't really put that into words enough for a lot of doctors to truly get. But if you can bring actual data and like, this has been my scores, this has been my heart rates for last week, I still feel bad, I'm sleeping 8 hours, et cetera, you can actually give them some diagnosable tools, at least some things that they can actually look at. Shaun, you got any thoughts on what do you tell people about biometrics? Let me ask you.
Well, I try to put all of my athletes onto an Oura ring back in the day. So data was a huge part of my coaching practice. And so pretty much anyone that I worked with had to be on a watch device, had to have this, that, and the other thing. So data was king. And so, if anyone ever asks me about data, I'm all about it. Yeah, get yourself some. But again, back to the point of if it's just sleep, this Oura ring is an example, and I don't know how it compares against the Garmin, who's the king of the ring. It doesn't much matter to me because what this has done over a period of time allows me to see the pattern of my sleep over the long arc, and so. What these kind of wearables can do is you can treat them as a one-dimensional device where you just, it's input output, you're learning things on a single stream. But then when you start wrapping other ideas around it, like, okay, I understand my sleep pattern, but now my sleep pattern when I eat gluten late at night, or when I have a glass of red wine late at night, or when
Mhm.
CBD or THC late at night, or how these various cofactors, or sorry, how these various things in our lives sort of impact the single stream that we're looking at, which is just sleep quality, and not really considering all of the other life wraparounds that you can interact with the wearable. So again, if it's a sleep apnea thing, is that a result of just a simple genetic thing? Are the cofactors to do with eating or alcohol or some sort of medications? And I'm not saying the watch then becomes your own little physician. What it does do is teach you to pay attention to yourself, and it teaches you how things interrelate. And if you can keep your mind open to that with a wearable, I find them super powerful. So I always encourage everyone to get into the wearable game, but with an eye towards thinking of them as more three-dimensional tools.
I like that. So
Jeez, I'm over here sounding like a freaking commercial for Garmin. It's ridiculous.
that's okay. I don't think they mind.
It's ridiculous.
I do want to touch on this quickly because Latha, you and I were talking about this the other day when we were doing our audio video check here. But
Mhm.
you guys have a horse wearable right now that you can put on
Yes.
the dock of the tail there. And I wanted to ask about not only that, but also like I do jujitsu. Shaun and I are both martial artists. Like, what kind of things are coming out for that type of? Because they can't wear a watch rolling around with people, right? But is there anything that you guys
Mhm.
offer that allows us to move around and still track those things? I'm going to come right back to you, Latha. What do you think?
Well, do you want to talk about horses first or your jujitsu?
Well,
Maybe we can
let's
talk
go
about
with
the horses maybe first. So
yeah.
yeah, so we didn't get into this thinking that we could go and track a horse's heart rate, but what we found, and we kind of going back to some of that innovation mindset and R&D mindset, is that we we could go and put our optical heart rate sensor on the base of a horse's tail, use a tail wrap, and get really good heart rate. And then we knew how important that is for horse health, and that, like, I think we were talking about it, is that you don't really know how a horse is doing, but it's really important for owners to know how their horse is doing and how they're recovering. If they're having if they're stressed at all, and then this gives them an opportunity to do that. So it's kind of just it's one of those it's one of those places where it's like, wow, where can this what are the applications of this? Where else can we use it? Because none of us kind of got into this thinking that we were going to be measuring a horse's heart rate one day.
Well, I mean, I know lots of ranchers and horsemen and all people who
Mhm.
horses, and they look out their window and there's a horse laying down the field, and they're like, "Oh God, he's dead!" And then they walk out there and they just get up and run away. And so it'd be good to
Yeah.
be able to have something to track them for sure. Scott,
Mhm.
now I know you got a hard timing, so I want to give you an opportunity to talk about either the R&D of like the active monitors, things like that, as well as any final thoughts you got before you gotta jump off.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate that. It's been what a great conversation. I think we've really hit on a lot of the issues of wearables and all. And I would say that uh, you know we're part of our innovation is always at Garmin has always been is we develop some technology and then we look for adjacencies to it. I'll give you a good example. So we have these wearables, right? And we have runners. When we developed the first Forerunner, I was on that team. I ran with it all the time. So that's how it became so good. We have a very, very active diving community here at Garmin. I mean, real divers, like the ones that go very deep and have to decompress and take care of all the compression sickness stuff. They were passionate about that. And now we have a really, really cool diving line of watches and dive computers. And that kind of started just as a passion project by some folks at Garmin. It was an adjacency, right? We made a watch into a dive computer. We made some other things. But that's a good example of like how this company is driven. We're an engineering-driven company. We're led by an engineer, Cliff Pimble, who's fantastic, founded by engineers. And we're constantly, looking for things that we're passionate about that are adjacent enough that we can move over there and we can try them and do things. So, I'm super stoked about where we are, the quality of our wearables and our biosensors. And I think our roadmap is really full. I'm very pleased with our roadmap. I think there's more good stuff coming. Obviously we're not going to talk about it, but we've never stopped innovating, and we're constantly pushing the envelope about what we can do. So, from my perspective, I think it's a great time to be in the wearable business, and we still have a long way to go. There's still a long way to go, and it's going to be exciting to see how it turns out.
Yeah, I'm quite impressed with the technological advances that have been happening in wearables over the last little while, and Garmin's been at the forefront of that from what I've seen for quite a while. Shaun, you got any final thoughts or points for Scott before?
No. I do want to continue the conversation, but I know Scott has a hard timing. So thanks for showing up and hitting us with the heat.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a pleasure talking to you guys.
Oh, it's
All right, Latha, I'm leaving you by yourself. Good luck.
Okay.
Good luck.
Thanks, Scott.
So Latha, I want to get back into the wearable, the active monitors, things like that for jiu-jitsu or people that can't watch at the time. What are your thoughts on those items?
So we have a chest strap monitor, a heart rate monitor, and so that's a great offering as well that you can wear while you're doing what if you can't wear a watch. So that's another way that you can go and get your heart rate during these activities. And it's ECG based, so it's EKG based, so it's very, very accurate. So that's something that some of our users use. I would say it's still nice to wear the watch to understand your recovery as well after these activities, right? So you learn a lot about how you're recovering and how you slept that day, and if you're ready for the exercise that you plan to do for the next day, how trained up you are, what your training readiness is.
That's a good point. I like that. Shaun, have you used any of the, like, I know Whoop had an armband or something like that or anything like that. Have you used anything while you've been doing martial arts? Have you seen anything interesting?
Just the Oura ring is basically what I would wear when I'm rolling, but that doesn't provide much at all in respect to kind of a fitness tracker, as it were. Two things I have for you, Latha, and the first one is, if you're going to do horses, you might as well do dogs. When I think of honestly, when I think of working dogs like the Malinois with the RCMP or with the Canadian military as an example, any working dog, any K9 handler, I'm sure would love to get data, especially if it's a military team. I'm sure they would love to have data on their working dog. Am I wrong, Chance?
Dead on. They would absolutely kill
they'd
that.
love that. No doubt about it. So that's me, customer of the day. You're welcome.
Okay. Thank you.
So what I was curious about, of course, is the biosensor itself. I guess the limitation for what you can do with delivering to the end user is a matter of how thin you can make that biosensor and attach a battery to it that is like now flexible enough that you can put it in material, and now all of a sudden it's a true wearable that is, embedded into material rather than on a watch strap. So I guess we're talking about any idea on how many, 5, 10, 20 years until you could micro that down to such a degree that it goes inside someone's beanie?
I don't know. I mean, that's a really out there question, but I know you know what, I think if it's possible, there will be products that come out like that. That's just the nature of how fast we are innovating, how fast the whole space is innovating. Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, I think if you look at where we were 10 years ago when we were measuring heart rate optically, during your activity, but we didn't really understand how much insight you could get from measuring it all day and how accurate that could be if you could continue innovating the sensor. It's amazing how far we've come in like 5 years and in 10 years. So I think
Mm.
it's like, who knows where we'll be in another 5 years and another 10 years
Garmin beanie. That's it.
in terms of biometrics.
Sean's
Mm,
gonna be the good idea fairy today. He's got all kinds of things.
yeah.
Malinois and beanies.
There you go. That brings up an interesting question, because as things get smaller, as the sensors become smaller, as we get better at building things with really really tiny microchips, at what point are we going to start putting just like things inside of us? Like, when are we going to get those the sci-fi little pills you can just stick in the neck, and then you can just read everything, right? And I'm wondering, do you see that as a possible movement forward in terms of like actual integration, or do you think it's always going to be kind of wearable? What do you think?
I I I feel like there's lots that we can continue doing with the wearable. I don't really know how receptive people would be to, integrating a sensor into
Not
them that
receptive.
way.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think kind of pushing the envelope with wearables and non-invasive technology really is where things are going.
Oh, that makes sense.
Mm,
Sean, what do you think?
yeah. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's where people have really found the utility in this, is that it's really a non-invasive, low friction type of technology, right? Like you wear it on, it's a watch, everyone's used to wearing a watch, and then or a ring, and you get this and you get all this data throughout the day. Mm.
But there is something that is interesting that, not trying to diminish your amazing idea of getting things injected in your neck, Chance, because, that's definitely going to happen. So I think one of the interesting things that works against that idea, of course, is people's fascination with style. And so, if I've got a Phoenix 8 on, now I'm part of the Phoenix 8 club. And anyone who wears a Phoenix 8, as you're walking down the hallway, give the little nod to the Phoenix 8 wearers. Oh, that person's got style. Ah, they're part of my club. We're living the same life. And so, there's that. It's the Porsche club, it's the Bentley club, it's the Phoenix 8 club. And so all across the watch line, I'm sure that there's little, not the marketing messages, but there's the culture that's built around the watch, and the watch says something about you. And so it's part of the purchase. The purchase isn't just for, function. There's a little bit of form in there as well. And that form is, I'm part of the Phoenix 8 club. And I think that's kind of important. Like, I'm not diminishing it. I'm not poo-pooing it. I think there's something to be said. There's a certain advantage to having a
Yeah,
Phoenix 8 club.
Yeah, well, I think it's really personal, right? Like
Mhm.
when you go and buy something and you wear it, you want it to work for it has to be, there's the utility part of it, but it's also a very personal thing too, right? So you want to watch that, maybe you want to watch that slim so that it can go under your shirt cuff and it looks nice, and you want to watch that fits you well, or you want it's And that's why Garmin makes so many different watches and so many different styles, because we know how personal it is, and we want to offer that full range to everybody. We have Instinct watches too. You should check out the Instinct ones. Like they're really, yeah. Yeah, we have a Lily watch that was made like for women by women. It's really small. It's you know, more of a fashion watch. It'll look good with when you're dressed up too. It doesn't look like it has a very different look and feel from our other watches.
That makes sense. I mean, you wouldn't want to have that massive, bulky, or not the massive one, but like the military style bulky watch wearing a gown or something like that. It would be
That's great.
Yeah,
that's great.
Well, I did make a note of the fact, not just of how many watches Garmin carries, but the size, because I only wear. I'm kind of old school, and so I've got like an Omega Seamaster here. It's about 35 years old, and the watch face on it is a small watch face. I had the option of choosing larger or smaller, and I know, maybe a lot of people would like to have that big chunky boy on their wrist, so like it's a massive sundial. But I wanted something a little more discreet, something that would fit underneath a shirt sleeve, or wouldn't be all up in everyone's grill. And so as I was looking at Garmin's watches, I saw 3 different sizes. I think it was 41, 46, and maybe 51 or something like that. Anyway, I thought, geez, I don't know if I'd go for the small or the medium size, because that medium kind of is the sweet spot almost. But I mean, again, what Garmin has done is they put an interesting little hook into my mind where I'm not even thinking of buying a Garmin watch, but all of a sudden I'm making decisions. Like, I think the medium is probably the one for me.
Yes, yeah.
It's crafty.
Yeah, I have a tiny wrist, so I'm glad that I have a watch that it's going to give me all the features of the big watch, but it's going to look nice on my small wrist.
Does the battery size get impacted by that? It was one of my thoughts when I was looking at the watch size.
Yeah, it does. It does a little bit. Yeah. Yeah. So the larger watches will have a bigger battery, and so
they come with the electroshock feature. The small watches do not.
Yeah.
But I do wonder about this. Does the not just the battery capacity, but the actual computing, like the hardware itself, is going to give you all this? The smaller watch is going to give you all the same, or can they give you the same level of data collection that some of the larger watches would?
Yeah, so on our Phoenix line, we have we're feature parity really across the 3 sizes. So and that's what we strive to do. And we have other watches that have a small and a large as well. Some of our Forerunners do, and it's the same thing there. We have feature parity between them.
So the Forerunner has come up a couple, 3 times now, and it was one of my back in the day sort of computers. I can see it. It was like red, and it was. I'm not going to say design style was number 1 in Garmin back in the day, because it was not. And so I can remember it pretty clearly in my mind because it was pretty butt ugly. But it was a way back in the day Forerunner. I don't recall when Forerunners came out, but
the early 2000s. So I mean, it's been like 20 years of the Forerunner now.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, it'd probably cool. It'd be cool looking nowadays. The shark has jumped.
Yeah. Well, so I have a bit more of a philosophical question for you guys here, because this has been kind of rolling around in my brain for the last little while. Is that, like, do you think that by constantly seeing our data or having all this stuff measured on a consistent basis can affect how we view ourselves, right? Like if all of a sudden I put this watch on and it continually tells me I have a high level of stress, or my heart rate's really fast, and I just go, oh, well, I guess I'm just a stressful person, right? Like, and it can create a bit of a body image or an identity shift based on that data. Or what do you guys think on that one? Latha, I'm going to hit you first. What do you think?
I don't think so. I think it's more, I think for a lot of, I mean, you probably need to have like a psychologist on this too, I guess, on this panel. But like, speaking from my experience, I feel like I would have said before, like, yeah, I try to be active, but I'm not really an athlete, But now, over the last 10 years, I know what my 10K time is, and I've improved it. I know what my VO2 max is. I've improved it. So I would say, oh, I think I'm an athlete now, and I think in those ways, that's how it kind of improve, or it changes your perception of who you are and what you're able to do. I think for like my kids have Garmin's too. I have a son and a daughter. They just got Garmin's a couple of years ago. And my daughter's a swimmer. And so she has started to wear a watch while she's swimming and during her training. And she can see like, oh, here's like the volume of my like my workouts, when I'm working with the swim club, how many kilometers we're doing every session. Here's some of my splits. Like so I think she's like, I feel like a swimmer now. I know all these stats about me, right? I feel like that's kind of how it can shape you more than kind of telling you that you're than saying, oh, you're a stress, you get stressed out all the time, or you have a high heart rate. I think for most people it's more of a positive reinforcement loop.
I like that. Shaun, what have you noticed?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a positive reinforcement loop tool, and there has been a little bit of messaging out there, and it's poor messaging. It's not very well thought out. The messaging being that if you're a stressful person, then wearables are going to make you even more stressed because they're going to tell you things that you don't want to hear, and that's just pretty poor messaging. And it is a tool. It's not an organic thing. It's not alive. And so that tool is neutral. What it is just doing is giving you a read on yourself, and that read is factual to some degree. And so it's whether you can face the facts or not. And if you can keep an open mind and you can stay neutral about accepting data about yourself, then in pretty short order, you'll start learning a lot about, a lot of things about yourself that I think would be a real miss if you didn't give it a try. And so it does take a little bit of an open mind. And I think, to be honest, what it does take is being around people who have a more positive message as to the benefits of these kind of tools, and being able to give, as I did, on the daily, give sort of coachy McCoach advice on what the data is truly saying on that particular day. And of course, nowadays software is so advanced that I'm sure the Garmin watches and wearables and such are kicking out some pretty solid advice as to any end users' concerns about maybe getting a little bit anxious about their data.
I find the whole concept interesting, and from a philosophical point of view as well as a physical point of view, because I find sometimes a lot of information can just blot out the sun kind of deal. Like it can, if you get too much, like I was saying earlier, it can become a stressor in and of itself. But if you know how to utilize it, then you can use it for a lot of good things and development in your own body and so on and so forth. It's fantastic. Shaun, you got any?
I think the point is fair that you're making, and but again, back to I think it's the Battery Buddy software piece. There it is. The idea being that the simplest of tools on one of these watches is better than no tool. So pick a really simple tool to give some really simple feedback until you become comfortable with the tool itself. And then you can dig into the next sub layer or the next level of granularity that provides more insight as to who you are as a person on that day and how you did yesterday and how you might do tomorrow. And so, again, it's just a neutral tool that is there for you to learn how to use it wisely. And so, Chance, I've heard it before, about people getting a little overwhelmed with some of these devices, and I think that's just because they dug into the wrong end of the tool. They went straight to the hardcore granularity aspects. What can it do for me right now, rather than baby step in the way in?
Yeah, that's a good point. Latha, you got any
Yeah.
thoughts on that?
I mean, I would just like the final thought on that I'd say is like data is empowering. I think for most people, data is empowering. And before you'd maybe go to your doctor for a yearly checkup, you'd get you'd get an assessment from them, and then you'd wait a year and see if how things have changed and if they've improved. But now you have really the ability to make some goals in your life and see how, as you attain them, what that's doing to your with the impact that that's having on your health and your fitness. And I think having that type of data that is so much more granular than what we would have had before, I think in all is actually quite empowering for people.
I dig it. I really love the information. I mean, I was using a Fitbit for a little bit, and the battery is not great at this point. I have to charge it every like 20 minutes, so I don't really wear it anymore. But
Mhm.
I agree with you guys that I found quite a lot of help from wearing that, especially my sleep schedules and things like that, where I could see when I woke up that not only did I didn't feel good, or where the issues were, where the time frames where I woke up as, what happened in the night, and that kind of thing. So I've been super happy using them. But they're pretty pricey. They're hard to I think for some people it may be hard to justify. But I guess I'm gonna start with Sean on this one. But if you were to try to, let's say, make the case for someone to go out and spend the money and invest in the subscriptions to continually get the information, how would you sell that to the average person that has never seen or used that kind of data before? I'm going to start with Sean, then I'm going to come to you, Latha.
Well, the answer would be on a case by case basis. It's hard to give a general statement on that one. But I think, as trite as it may be, it's like an investment in yourself. And I don't mean like getting a gym membership is an investment in yourself. I mean, like it really is an investment in yourself, because the moment you slap that thing on on your wrist and start paying attention to it, you're learning things about yourself that you never knew. Now that's different than a gym membership, because you know what a gym membership provided last year, right around January the 1st. And so, I think it's a brand new way of looking at the world and yourself within it, if you just give it a chance. And so I think it really is a proper investment in yourself, and it's an easy sell. I mean, I looked at the Phoenix 8 and my eyeballs rolled into the back of my head. But I looked at that bad boy and I thought, man, that'd be pretty sweet, and I know what it could do for me. And then bam, um, you know, that's a flip of the coin. Then do you want to go all in or not? But for the uneducated user that has never been involved in wearables, I would say that these kind of things make sense if you get into it like at the kind of entry level to mid-tier level. Don't go all the way to the top like a champion. Like, get in kind of low to mid-tier, to see if you have the juice to be able to pay attention to it for a couple of weeks. If you can pay attention for a couple of weeks, you're golden. And then, maybe somewhere down the line, you get a fancy boy Garmin and you're king of the hill. But, get in at the entry level so you're not spending a ton of money, and you're comfortable with your purchase and you're happy with what it's providing. You can make decisions further down the road.
Good advice. Latha, you got any thoughts?
Yeah, I think that's great advice. I mean, we have so many wearables from the entry level all the way up to the premium tier at Garmin, and that's the reason that we have it, because we know, some people they want to start with a watch or a wearable that gives them some of the basic information. It's still very good, like how Scott said. Our sensor technology is great. All of our the products are robust. They'll last you a long time. Their battery life is good, and you start with that, and then see. I think what a lot of people, and what I definitely feel about the wearables, is that when you are wearing it every day, you're getting that information, that feedback every day, and that's very different from something where you're like maybe you're getting some feedback once a week or every other week, and that's where you have to start to actually change your routine so that you're making use of your purchase. But here you're going to be making use of it right from the beginning and getting data every time you look at it, and I think that's what's powerful about it.
Yeah, I dig it. Shaun, you got any other questions for Latha? We've run
No.
through all of mine.
No, I don't. I learned a lot. It was really enjoyable. But what I did show up here for with my bucket of popcorn is what's around the corner. What's the next little secret thing that you have up your
Mhm.
sleeve that we're going to learn about for the first time today?
Well, yeah, we won't be talking about what we have
It's just an
in our back
NDA. It's no
pocket,
big deal.
All the secrets. Let them out.
yeah, obviously, yeah, we won't be getting into that. But I mean, I can say that we are a innovative R&D company at our core, and that's what checks our boxes to keep seeing what's next and how we can make what we have better and how we can make new things.
What gets you excited about working at Garmin?
Well, I think first of all, it's just the commitment to quality and good data and accurate sensors, like just the commitment to make sure that everything that we're putting out there is really the best that can be out there, and then also that kind of continuous the freedom for continuous R&D as well. And then for me, I love seeing the impact that it has on people's lives. I love hearing about how they use Garmin wearables and Garmin products, and how that's made them healthier or made them fitter, or help them train for their, they were always like 5K runners, and then they ended up doing a half marathon, and they used a training coach, and they did it without getting injured because they knew how to ramp up their training plans. Um, I think kind of hearing all those stories is what makes me excited. And I
I
think
never.
just the whole part of like before you knew how you felt, but you didn't really have as much of that data to change, to know what impact your lifestyle was having on your health the same way. And now when you have these quantifiable ways to say, okay, well, I had a drink and this is what happened to my sleep, or I haven't been having, I've been going to sleep a lot later than I usually do. And, but I can't fall asleep, why? And kind of looking at what you're doing, what your daily habits are, how they've changed, and then how that's impacting your life, and having that feedback from these biometrics is really powerful. I think it just helps you make informed decisions about your life.
That's a good way of putting it.
So I got a question. We see or typically see a lot of Garmin at race events, a lot of the Garmin flagging, a lot of the Garmin, the booth, all the things. And so at events, I'll see it, but I don't see much kind of in the general public. Maybe marketing. Maybe I'm not a target for the marketing, but I just don't see it out in the sort of general consumer level. I see it directed a lot to sports specific stuff. Is there
Mhm.
part of the marketing that I've missed, or am I in a little cave of my own right now that I don't see Garmin product being put out for the general user, as it were?
Yeah, maybe I don't know exactly what your cave situation's like, but I guess
Right.
all of us are in
I feel
some.
Garmin denied.
Yeah, all of us are in some version of a cave, I
There,
guess,
that
about
is
the.
true. That is
Yeah,
true.
I think for like we have a Vivo Active line, we have a Venue line, we have the Lily line, so we do have a lot of wearables that are targeted at the wellness market. At the not necessarily the athlete, but the person who's concerned about and inquisitive about their health and keeping track of it.
Hmm.
Yeah, so I'd encourage you to look at those lines too. Look at the Vivo Active line. Look at the Venue line.
Too late. I
Yeah.
already looked at the Phoenix line. Now I'm
Yeah,
totally
you
screwed.
went all the way to the top.
I didn't know it was the top, but Garmin did when I looked at that website. That was the first thing I saw. So someone knew.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
didn't.
Sean came out of his cave
Yeah.
a little bit and looked
I
at the
was like, come on.
Yeah.
Now I need
Yeah,
a Phoenix 8. What the heck?
Yeah, the Instinct series is a great series as well that has a different look and feel.
I really love it. I've been looking and dreaming of getting one of the Garmin Phoenixes for quite a while.
Oh, have you? Really?
Yeah, I've been staring at them they come up in my feed. So the funny thing is I get it quite often, especially when I look through social media, is I get Garmin.
Oh, for sure. I'm going to get it now. I mean,
now you're going to get it. Yeah, exactly.
That's guaranteed.
But the thing is also I see it a lot more in like specialty stores. So like at the Running Room or at
right.
Co-op, things like that, where most athletes will go to those specialty shops, and there I see a lot of Garmin as well. So that is that's where I see it. But I got nothing else. Sean, you got any?
No, I appreciated the conversation. I learned a lot. Thank you.
It's been fantastic. Latha, you got any final thoughts? Anything at all on wearables, biometrics, Garmin, anything across the board?
Well, I just wanted to thank the two of you for having us here. It's been a great conversation, and Scott and I are always excited to talk about biometrics and wearables and Garmin, and how things have evolved over the last 10 years and how excited we are for the possibilities.
I am looking forward to all of the secrets that you are not talking about, because those things are going to come out, and I love it. Thank you so much for being on here. Sean, you got any final thoughts?
No, I think Garmin's lucky to have you guys. So congrats to Garmin.
Thank you.
And yeah, I really hope that I can get one of those Phoenixes myself. And I know we got a comment right here.
It's unbelievable.
And he jumped in here and said, "Thanks, Steve, for putting this on. Phoenix 8, here I come." See, I'm not the only one.
Dude, I know. I got screwed by seeing it myself.
And as we all wish and dream and learn
about the Phoenixes of the world.
We'll see y'all next time. Wow.
Jimo.
Oh, man. Thanks, everybody, for watching and being part of the collective. If this has sparked any thoughts or resonated with you, let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Your support helps us grow and keeps the conversation going. We'll see y'all next time.